Hey there, this video is about what to do if you believe you're being investigated and or if you get a call from a detective. My name is Veronica. I am a criminal defense attorney here in Los Angeles, and I help people who have been arrested or are facing investigation move past their criminal cases so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. And again, this video is about what to do if you believe that you are being investigated or if you get a call from a detective. You know, recently I saw this post on Reddit in legal advice. Someone posted about how her husband had been accused by her niece of sexual assault. And she described how first she got a call from a detective explaining that the niece had accused her husband. And so she spent time talking to the detective. She didn't believe her husband was guilty. I guess everybody had all been sleeping in the same open area. Would have been very unlikely. But of course, she doesn't know for sure. So she spent a lot of time talking to the detective, answering all of his questions about her husband, his sexual habits, his porn activity. Any question that the detective asked, she answered. Was there a time when perhaps the husband and the niece could have been alone? She answered all of those questions, and then she gave the detective, believing that she was being helpful. She thought she was helping her husband here, and didn't want to make it seem like maybe he was guilty by not being open and honest. So then at the end of the call, she gives the detective her husband's number. And, of course, she tells her husband about this, and the husband is eager to talk to the detective and give his side of things. So detective calls up the husband, he answers, and they talk for a little bit, and then the detective asks him, hey, can you come in for a meeting so we can get your side of things? And he says, sure, no problem. And actually this Reddit poster says, he's scheduled to go in, I believe it was the following Friday, for this meeting. And then she asks, any advice? Anything he should do during the meeting? So on this post, every criminal defense attorney, I think every attorney at all, or anybody who knows what's up with this, was like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Because the thing is, and a lot of people, if you haven't been involved with this before, and this woman obviously had not been involved in the criminal justice system, and the guy probably had not either, the husband, they don't understand that the detective's job is to arrest people. They are not in the business of clearing up misunderstandings or mistakes or proving someone's innocence. They're in the business of collecting evidence against you. They're in the business of twisting the words that you say. They're in the business of lying to you and tricking you to extract a confession out of you. You do not have to talk to them. It will not look better for you if you talk to them. So all of our advice unanimously to this woman and her husband was, do not go into the meeting. My advice was, hey, look, if you call some criminal defense attorneys in your area. If you can't afford a criminal defense attorney, right? Like some people, you can't. You would need to use the public defender. They're not going to give you a public defender for this meeting. So you need to simply cancel the meeting. And if they file charges against you, then you'll use the public defender. But you will not go into the meeting by yourself as a clueless person against these professionally trained, very experienced interrogators, collectors of evidence, and people who work with the prosecutor, especially for this type of crime. I don't know what state she was in, but you could be facing life for this, the rest of your life. So you don't want to screw around or fuck it up by trying to DIY this. Now, I'll tell you another story. I explained to a client once who was under investigation, look, make sure, don't talk to a detective. If a detective contacts you, if they call you, just tell them that you have an attorney. And if you can give them my contact information or simply hang up. We had a long conversation on the phone about this. He asked me many questions. He was worried about it. Well, we hang up, and I get a call from him about 15 minutes later. Right after we had gotten off the phone, within 5 minutes, a detective had called him, and he answered, and he confessed. Excuse me. So now what I tell people, and he just got nervous, right? Like he obviously knew what to do. if you're watching this, you might have watched other videos like this. You know what to do. You know what you're supposed to do. You know what every attorney would tell you to do. But to actually do it in practice when you're really nervous, I can see how that would be hard. And they make it hard. The detective makes it hard intentionally. What? If you did nothing wrong, why wouldn't you just talk to me? Right? So my advice, if you believe that you're under investigation, like sometimes people will call me and their employer is investigating them for theft, for example. And they know that, there may be evidence against them out there for that. My advice is, if you think you might be getting investigated, do not answer any unknown numbers. If you don't know who it is, they can leave a voicemail or they can text you. Detectives also like to call from unknown or blocked numbers. Do not answer any unknown or blocked numbers. Unless it's somebody whose contact info is already in your phone, do not answer it. And I'll take that one step further, and I'll make a separate video about this, but I wouldn't talk to anybody about the crime over the phone. Of course, it would be ideal if you didn't talk to anyone. Obviously, in this situation I was describing from Reddit, the husband and wife are talking to each other. But she should not take any calls, and he shouldn't take any calls from the niece, from her sister, because many times the detectives will actually work together with that person to do one of these phone calls and extract a confession. And sometimes people can say, well, I'm really sorry. And maybe they didn't even do what they're being accused of, right? But they just, they're sorry about the situation. They're sorry that, this accusation would occur, or whatever it is. And now that's being used against them. So don't answer any unknown calls. Don't answer if it's your employer who's investigating you. Don't answer any calls from them about this, about what they're investigating you for. Nothing. No statements about it whatsoever. Especially over the phone when you don't know who else is there, because I have had cases where the detective, they're all in the police station calling from the alleged victim's cell phone, and the detectives are right there. They're whispering, they're writing notes to that person. You don't know. So just be careful, protect yourself. I hope that this video was informative. If you do have a criminal case in Los Angeles, go ahead. If you're looking for an attorney, you can book an appointment with me down below or give me a call.